Hello and welcome back to On Volume 6. This is a channel designed around educating people about the overlap between orthodox Jungian psychological theory in terms of psychological types, or in terms of the question of psychological types, and overlapping that technique with the objective personality system and the theory that they've brought forth. So there's a lot going on in those statements, and we've been trying to figure out a way to break them down, and we've been struggling, me, myself, and I, to come up with a coherent narrative to depict some of these distinctions, specifically psychological functions versus psychological types, common notation versus formal notation, and theory, structure, and application/practice, in terms of where the overlap is and the differentiation begins in terms of Jungian theory and objective personality theory. We've begun by talking about my psychological functions and my psychological type in the objective personality system. In conventional Myers-Briggs or conventional OPS, I would be considered extroverted intuitive or introverted intuitive, depending on identification. Extroverted intuitive, introverted intuitive, depending on identification. INTJ or ENTP. And the question that we have specifically is, what are the similarities and differences between animal function temperaments? What is the similarity what are the similarities and the differences between SF, NF, ST, and NT? Why is genetically real a more privileged position than ontologically real? That's in terms of theory, structure, and application/practice. Because they, why is genetically real more privileged? Why is genetically real a more privileged position than ontologically real? How to understand the objective personality system from the perspective of nominalism and/or realism. Why there are 128 animal function temperament skeleton outlines. Is that true? I thought there was 64. There's 8 times 16. Yeah, I guess there are 8 times 16 animal function temperament skeletons. Why? Because you take the 8 animal function temperament skeletons, NTST, STNF, things like that, in a stack, and you multiply them by 8. So 16 times 8 equals 128 animal function temperaments. Animal function temperaments. Why there are 128 animal function temperament skeleton outlines. How to find savior state versus demon state functions in the objective personality system. Objective personality as the psychology of individuation. Structure. The best thing objective personality gave to the typology community. Psychic energy and objective personality animal functions as a dialectic. The greatest literary postgraduate research project in psychology of the 21st century. The greatest literary postgraduate research project in psychology of the 21st century. Objective personality animal functions as psychological function temperaments. Objective personality animal functions as psychological function temperaments. Orthodox Jungian psychological functions as scarcely more than psychophysical colorings. Though these reflections may explain why objective psychology has such a meager source in the material handed down to us from antiquity, the differentiation of the four temperaments, which we took over from the ancients, hardly rates as a psychological typology, since the temperaments are scarcely more than psychophysical colorings. But this lack of information does not mean that we can find no trace in classical literature of the effects of the psychological pairs of opposites we are discussing. Gnostic philosophy enabled... Okay. So we're dealing with... So... How to read an objective personality type. Animal function temperament responsible. What did Jung teach us? Why is objective personality so hard to understand? Because you're... Why objective personality is neo-Jungian? No, really. The difference between formal notation and common notation in the objective personality framework. The difference between a psychological function and a psychological type in the objective personality system. I think I need more condensed titles. Those titles are still too out there. Nobody's going to understand what that means. So yeah, I don't have much more to say. Psychological functions, psychological types. On volume 6, I guess in future episodes we'll work through those title first contents and try to put some flesh on those bones. Myers-Briggs Day-Per-Sang, and the blast axis and the consume axis. Until the next time. Entry number number 8 in early game rant for on volume 6. I repeat, this is the close of this entry number 08 in early game rant for on volume 6. Thank you for tuning in.